Everyone, very welcome. We are 42 participants in this seminar, and this is a part. We started this concept, which we call vital humanism, during the pandemic, where it was impossible to meet in restaurants and conference halls, and we had this instead. And of course, there is a big advantage because a lot of people are living far away from bigger cities where we have our physical meetings. And this makes it possible for people all over the place, all over the country, to participate. So we decided to permanent this concept, and we have been doing this for approximately, I think, close to 3 or 4 years now. And today, this is the first, and we do it every second week, every second Wednesday. And this is the first time we do it in English. So it's a big step forward from our point of view. And the reason for doing this in English is that we have invited the presidents of the humanist organizations in the Nordic countries to say something about how they look at our challenges for now and for the future. What are the questions that we should take and work with? And we will give the word to each one of the presidents in an alphabetic order, and alphabetic order in the country. So we start with Denmark. And then we will have a discussion between the presidents, and then I hope that we will get some questions from the audience. And you write your questions in the chat, and I will read them. And you can write the questions in Swedish, in English, in Norwegian. I think you can write it in Danish, but please don't write it in Finnish, because then, oh, well, there are people obviously who can translate it, so we can fix that too. So I would like to welcome everyone to the seminar, and I give the word now, the first one, to Kirstine Kærn from Denmark.
Hello, everybody, and thank you for setting this session up. I think it's quite interesting. And see if we can learn something. We don't have these kind of seminars in Denmark. I'm president for Humanistisk Samfund, as it's called in Danish. We are approximately, just to give you a short catch-up for those of you who don't know us, we have around 2,200 members, have existed in 15 years. We do a lot of ceremonies. One of our big sellers is humanist confirmations, which is the way we have been known to the public in Denmark. So we have kind of like two areas of which our main focuses is the ceremonies, where the confirmations is a big thing. And then we have on politics area where we try to change the world, so to speak. We are in Denmark, we are not acknowledged, which means our ceremonies are not legally binding when we speak about weddings. So that's one of the things that are on top of the list for us, is actually to get recognized, or get lifestyles recognized on equal terms as faith communities. And of course, we have done a lot of work during the years with different politicians to try to get that established and copy some of the things from Norway, for example, or Iceland, where the lifestyles are recognized. There's still a bit of a way to go. So that's one of our biggest challenges. One other area is knowledge for, I would say, our organization. Spread the knowledge regarding the humanist lifestyles and what we stand for, and what's the differences when you talk about humanism in general, and what's the difference to our lifestyles. And regarding politics, we are also very focused on, of course, and talk a lot about that human rights are under pressure. We were celebrating almost 9 years ago when the blasphemy law was demolished in Denmark, but just before Christmas they made a new one. I'm pretty sure some of you have heard about it also, which was due to, I know in Sweden there was this Danish-Swedish guy burning Qurans different places. He started in Denmark and then he did it in Sweden. And due to some of that, the Danish Parliament decided to ban blasphemy of written text from would primarily be from the big monopolistic religions. So unfortunately, we have the blasphemy law back, which is a setback. So we are also focused on those things. I think that would be the main things I would say now, and then I will hand over the word to another president. Oh, you're on mute, Anders.
Well, I guess it's my turn.
Yeah, thank you very much. And now over to Jori in Finland, please.
Okay. Thanks for this virtual gathering. I'm Jori Mäntysalo. Family name means pine forest, and from the Freethinkers Union of Finland, Vapaa-ajattelijain liitto in Finnish. And in Finland, we have actually two state sources, but the smaller one has only about 1% of population. The Evangelical Lutheran Church has about 64% of population as a members, and it has been steadily getting down about 1% per year. And the big thing in this is a website called eroakirkosta.fi, which means leavethechurch.fi. And by it, one can send an automatic email to an office that handles the list of people belonging to different religions and where they live and so on. It has been now used in for 20 years. We have just celebrated it last year, and we have blasphemy law in Finland, unfortunately, still, and we are trying to separate the church and state. I guess that's kind of common to all of Nordic countries. And for example, the parliament start with the church going happening, but we have arranged a few times a kind of alternative program to that. And now for the second time, it is part of kind of formal program of the openings of parliament sessions. And it is now arranged by some members of the parliament itself. So we have some kind of success in some areas, but still the church can have right to tax the people, and about 2 of the 3 babies are baptized to that church and so on. Also, we have a growing Muslim population, and that might be a problem as the habits are, well, they are religious, and that's a problem. Yeah, maybe you can ask more later.
Thank you so much, Jori. And then over to Iceland and Inga, please.
Hello, góða kvöldi, kæru humanista vinir. My name is Inga, and I'm the president of Humanist Iceland. We have been around since 89-90 and have grown quite a lot. We have now more than 5,000 members, 5,700, I think, when I last checked, which is quite good, I think, because 10 years ago, in 2013, we were more like 300. So at that point in time, we got a kind of life-stand status within the state, so that we can be on the list of religious organizations that you could choose from when you decide where to put your money. And that has helped us grow exponentially almost. We now have between 600 and 700 confirmants every year, which is around 15% of the population. We have 18% of the weddings, which is obviously quite unproportionate to the 1.5% that we have a membership of within Iceland. But we seem to be very popular as a celebrancy service almost, or a confirmation service. We are also gaining quite a foothold, I think, socially. For my predecessors, it was quite a thing to be a humanist or an atheist or something like that. They got death threats and all that. And now it seems that we have society on our side. The church does not. The church is diminishing quite a lot. We have a state church, as many of you have, which is now below 60% for the first time, around 58, 57%, and declining very rapidly. What maybe makes us different from the rest of the Nordic Humanist organization is that Iceland is a very popular wedding venue for foreign couples. So half our wedding ceremonies are for foreign people that are not do not live in Iceland, that come to get married in front of a waterfall or in an ice cave or in front of a volcano, as we have discussed. And this makes us it's an opportunity for us, because that keeps our celebrants very trained and active, and it becomes a bigger part of their life than if we were only marrying the Icelandic couples. But still, we're very popular with Icelandic couples, and so things are going good. We are experiencing a small decline in ceremonies and confirmants for the first time in a long time, and we don't know why. It could be because of COVID, that people that wanted to get married in COVID and couldn't did that in the 2 years after COVID, and now we've kind of finished that group of people, but that wouldn't explain the confirmants. So this is a challenge that we're looking into. Other challenges, of course, include the state church, which is a challenge we're looking into as well, and are constantly trying to do something about. And I think it's going to happen within, 15, 20 years. But for now, they are all set for the next 12 years because of an agreement. And we do not have a chaplaincy or a existential care service of any kind. The church has a complete monopoly on that in the hospitals and in prisons and in other places like that. And this is something that we look towards Norway and of course Belgium, Holland, UK, in terms of trying to build up something that can service our humanist population in that regard. Otherwise, we're dealing with similar things to you, parliamentary opening sessions in the church and such, that we try to give our alternative to. And yeah, are hosting the next Nordic meeting in May, and I think Nordic collaboration is the way to go, because we can learn so much from each other. We have such similar challenges and similar strengths. So that's it for now.
Thank you, Inga. And over from Reykjavik to Bergen in Norway, and Christian, please.
Thank you, Anders. My name is Christian, and I'm the president of the Norwegian Humanists. As an organization, we have existed since 1956, but the earliest traces of our humanist confirmations is from 1951. We have about 150,000 members, which has increased with 42,000 or thereabouts in the last 2.5 years. We obtained registration as a life stance community in the 1980s and has been a part of that scheme ever since, even though it has changed somewhat in that period. We have about 15,000 confirmants each year. This increasing quite a lot in the last 6 or 7 years, which is kind of an opportunity, or very much an opportunity, but also a challenge to actually provide them with good confirmation, both ceremonies and courses. Around 2,000 children that participate in naming ceremonies, and about 1,000 weddings and funerals each year. And we are also, and this is quite important, I find, we are an integral part of the national religious dialogue that has been around for almost 30 years. And this is quite important. Our ambitions for the future, and I have tried to single this one down to 3, is to increase the number of organized humanists, because we find in both our own research about the Norwegian population and also more general surveys about the population, that around half the population say they have, or the lifestyle lifestyles most similar to their own lifestyles is a humanist lifestyles without the belief in God. And we also see that the number of people reporting that they believe in God, or that they believe in Christianity, or that they consider themselves Christian is also falling rapidly. So, but we want to increase the number of organized humanists, because even though we are a large organization, we only organize about 2% of the population. We have also gotten some marching orders from our General Assembly that we should try to create more social arenas, obtaining more buildings around the country, to have arenas for having humanist meetings and doing local activities, and to provide people with an arena for them to be social as a part of the Lifestyles community. And we also need to keep providing good and valuable ceremonies to our member and other interested parties. Some of the challenges that I have tried to number here, I could also find others, would be the remnants of the old state church. And it is a discussion if we have a state church or not. My professional opinion is that we have a state church, but it has changed somewhat. And the legal framework, both in schools, in other parts of society, so on and so forth, still favors the old state church. Something new that we have been trying to raise a discussion about in the last months is the non-sustainability of our financing scheme. Because this is built around the fact that the Norwegian state church receives a lump sum of money that they ask for, and it is divided on the number of members in the Norwegian state church. And that determines the value of me as a humanist. And since the Norwegian state church is losing members, we are becoming more valuable, and this is becoming an increased burden on the Norwegian government's finances. So it is not a huge problem today, but it will become a huge problem in the future, as the state church is losing about 1 to 2 percentage points each year of their membership base. So this is becoming an increasing problem. So in the last 12 years, I have doubled in value in this sense. We also lack rooms suitable for having burial ceremonies. So this is an important factor in reminding the Norwegian government and regional governments that they need to provide burial ceremony rooms for all of the population, not just the Christian population. And of course, we are a part of a general trend in problems of recruiting and keeping volunteers for our work. So this is not something that is unique for us in the Norwegian society, but it is something that we are part of. So people are volunteers for less years at a time. Earlier, we could rely on people being volunteers for 20, 30, 40 years, but that is not something one can rely upon that much anymore. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Christian. And then over to David in Uppsala.
So, my name is David Rönnegard, and I am the chairperson for Humanists Sweden. And I guess the main challenge that I want to lift that we have here in Sweden is that we have a falling membership. Over the past 6 years or so, we've seen a falling membership of about 100 members per year. Now, that's not a drastic decrease in membership. We're still about 4,000 members, but it's still a negative trend that we want to break. Now, this falling trend is actually a general trend for almost all civil society organizations in Sweden. Humanisterna have held up fairly well compared to other organizations, but in general, fewer and fewer people of the younger generations want to get engaged in community issues. 15 years ago, humanists in Sweden saw a sharp rise in membership, and one of the primary reasons for that was the increased interest in the new atheist movement. However, Sweden is arguably the most secular country in the world, with about 80% of the population describing themselves as non-religious. Now, that essentially means that here in Sweden, we've won the God debate. And because of that, we need to change our, raison d'être. We need to change our reason for existence. We can't just keep on hammering home over and over again a message that most of the population has already accepted. So one of the major shifts that we want to do is that we want to put a greater focus on our celebrants and our ceremonies services. We want to go beyond just having intellectual debates and move towards activities that bring people together so that we can show our life stance, so to speak, in real life. And our celebrants currently work as essentially independent satellites to our organization. And our ambition is to centralize these ceremonies by harmonizing pricing, invoicing, quality, as well as making it much clearer that these services are being provided by Humanisterna as an organization. We also want to expand our celebrants training. We don't just want to have more celebrants. We also want to expand the training itself to include more humanism. Now, we've started this process, but it's moving along very slowly. And one of the reasons for that is that we're anchoring each step with our celebrants. But these types of reforms also require a lot of work, and Humanisterna doesn't have any employees. So we're hoping in the near future to be able to employ somebody part-time in order to get the ball rolling a little bit quicker. Another challenge and ambition that we have at Humanisterna is to become a registered life stance organization, an organization of that type that is able to receive state subsidies, just like religious organizations can, what in Swedish is called trossamfund. Now, Humanisterna sent in an application 2 years ago to become an officially registered life stance organization. And that application was sent to an agency called Kammarkollegiet. In English, that would be known as the Administrative Service Agency, which is the agency which registers life stance organizations. Now, Kammarkollegiet first rejected our application on a technicality, and then rejected our application again, basically because our life stance doesn't have a belief in God. Now, Humanisterna hasn't interpreted Swedish law to include a requirement for a belief in God, so we appealed that decision to the administrative court, and we've been waiting for almost a year, and just a few days ago, we got a preliminary indication that our appeal will probably be successful. Now, this is potentially fantastic news, but we will let you know if and when this becomes official. However, this is just the first step to receiving equal treatment. A second application then needs to be sent to the government in order to apply for subsidies. And the government can potentially make a different determination than Kammarkollegiet and not let Humanisterna be regarded as an official life stance organization. Now, it would be rather awkward for the state and the government to make different determinations on the same issue, but we've been dealing with this issue for at least 15 years, and really nothing would surprise us at this point. So we'll continue appealing over and over again until we eventually get equal treatment. So that basically summarizes what I see as some of the main challenges and ambitions that we have at the moment.
Thank you so much, everyone. May I ask all of you the same question? The Nordic countries are on the top of almost all ranking lists in the world. And I believe that the Finnish people is the happiest people in the world, over and over again. But all our people are happy. But at the same time, a lot of people feels bad. And I looked at one investigation, especially young girls, for example. The group of people in Sweden who is most comfortable with life is my older men. Is there a connection between atheism and secularism, and that people are not feeling that we have a lot of emotional problems in countries that work so well as the Nordic countries? What do you say? Is there something missing? What's missing?
Well, at least that's a different question about if the God exists or if belief in God is beneficial. But it might be that current society is kind of free, and maybe for some people it's kind of too free. I mean that maybe some people kind of accept ready-made path what to follow as their parents did, and so on. So that might be kind of a side effect of secularism.
Yeah.
I don't think it's necessarily connected. I know there has been some science showing that if you have meaning in life, then you are happier. But humanists also have meaning in life. I think some of the things that makes put a lot of pressure, especially on the young ones, is actually they are not freer. From when I was young, I had all the options. I was subsidized for many more years to going to university than the young people in Denmark are today. There's more and more pressure on them to make decisions on their future life earlier. When I went to school, you can do whatever you wanted and change your education during university. But when my daughter went to school, and she's turning 30 in a year, she had to make a plan for her future when she was in the 6th grade. That was not an option. That we didn't have to do that when I was young. So I don't think the younger generation are freer. They have a lot of options, but there's also a lot of pressure for them to make decision at an early stage on what direction they want to have in their life. They are pushed through the educational system. They are constantly told that they have to finalize their education, be good workers, pay their taxes. That was not the conditions when I was a teenager and in my 20s. And I think that's why they are more unhappy today. And I don't think it has anything to do with religion, because we also have search for meaning of our life and needs to make a decision around how we want to live our life. And that's just my opinion.
Okay. Christian, for example, what do you think?
I do not. I think that is a more spurious connection, and the reason why I say that is that they report the same issues on regarding young people's mental health all over the world, and it's very easy to point to, for example, social media and connectivity and economic distress as Kirstine points to, but also the social media part and maybe the openness about mental health issues makes it easier to talk about and report, and to have a language for sounding unhealth about mental health issues. So I'm not so sure that this actually connects with being religious or being atheist in any meaningful way. I think that we are both failing at providing the answer to this, both the religious parties and the non-religious parties. So, yeah.
Inga, what do you think?
Well, there are so many things that are going on in the world that we are now more aware of. Of course, places that were far away, back in the day, are now on our screens, and that makes us unhappy because we are social, compassionate beings, and if children are being slaughtered in Gaza, it makes us unhappy, which we might have not known about decades ago. So I don't think it's necessarily connected to the church. I see other reasons for young women to be more unhappy than middle-aged men, and those reasons are the patriarchy. Some are beneficiaries of that, and some not. But I think also we are more free in the way that we express our unhappiness. Back in the days, you were supposed to just tough it out and pretend to be happy, and now we're doing something that is very healthy, which is being vulnerable and saying that we might not have all the answers, that we are not happy. So I think it's maybe has more to do with that than actual changes.
Okay, David.
I imagine that societies that are more religious than our own have a greater sense of community. So to the extent that our secular societies have lost anything, it might be a sense of community. And that's where I think that our Nordic organizations have a role to maybe try to fill that gap. And it's not an easy gap to fill because we don't have dogma. We don't have big glorious buildings where everybody can gather. We don't have a date every Sunday where we all gather, and we don't want to have that either because we're not that kind of lifestyle. So it's a difficult hole to fill, and I think we're doing the best we can to fill it.
There is a difference between discuss something and to debate something. Politicians debate, and debates are supposed to be won before an election, for example. Discussions, there's no winner. Everyone are a winner if we learn from it. Is there a potential that the Humanists movement could start discussions that politicians can't start because we don't need to win elections? Would it be possible for us to discuss the modern society in different ways than the politicians do?
I mean, we're not politicians, we're a civil society organization, but we have civil society organizations that hold the opposite view to that we do. I mean, as long as we're having this kind of discussion that we're having now, where we're all humanists, it's easy to talk about having a discussion. But as soon as I write a debate article and the church responds to it, then it's no longer a discussion; it's a debate. So I guess it depends on the forum.
Yep. Anyone else? Do you see?
Yes.
Yep.
I tried to raise my hand in the system, but it's I'm not sure if it's visible. I find it actually quite difficult to try to start new debates or discussions in, for example, the media outside of the seasons for different topics. It's a lot easier if the Norwegian state church chimes in and disagrees with me, then it's much easier, or if I disagree with something that the Norwegian state church says at first. So it's a lot easier if they are part of the discussion that are being held in society. At the same time, a lot of the things that I would like to discuss about the Norwegian society, Norwegian legal framework, the Norwegian school system, and so on and so forth, I'm not sure if the Norwegian State Church is the appropriate discussion partner. I would like to discuss this with the Norwegian politicians and with the other civil society organizations that are not, well, the state church. And I would like to discuss this with the media and so on and so forth. And to be able to be part or to be able to get traction on those debates is quite hard sometimes when it's not the appropriate time of year for religious services in school discussions before Christmas, or having are we going to the church as a part of the 17th of May national holiday? I'm not sure, parades, and so on and so forth. So that is quite difficult to be able to get traction on those debates.
Yep. Inga, do you want to add something?
Yes, of course, Iceland is very tiny. So the distances between all these actors are very small. I find it relatively easy to have a say in the media and to flag something in the public discourse, either by responding to something that the church has done, or by pointing out something. And it's generally picked up. They pick up everything that I do these days. There was a piece of cheese on my car and they found that hilarious in the media. I don't know. So that part is easy. It's just that we don't have the time. We don't have the infrastructure. We don't have the money to put these things out there, to put focus on it, because we're simply within the organization internally constantly putting out fires and trying to meet the demand of ceremonies and such. But also we have a lot of politicians that are very close to us, celebrants even, that are now in the parliament. So it's easy to gain an ear. That doesn't mean that we get what we want, obviously, but people take notice, I think.
We will come back to the chat, but please write your questions or your comments in the chats, and I will address those chats. May I ask each one of you, have you been thinking of potentials for the humanist movement that we could help each other to develop? Are there potentials that this could be done, but we haven't been doing it yet? A good idea for each other, or maybe corporations?
I think I can start. I think there's a lot of potential in the Nordics, which is also why we started the Nordic Forum a few years back. Our focus has been on the World Congress in Copenhagen this summer, so we've spent a lot of time discussing that, and I think that's also part of the meeting in Iceland in May, is to find our way forward, because we've spent so many resources and so much time on the World Congress last year. So my hope is that we on Iceland can have a discussion on where we can benefit from each other and where we can help each other, because I think there's a lot of potential. Also, we have the Nordic Council. There must be some things we can piggyback on in general in the Nordics, and learn from each other. And we have, in Denmark, we also have a lot of ideas because we have the same ceremonies. Maybe there's something regarding education of celebrants. There could be some other things also, of course, piggybacking on each other's experiences regarding getting acknowledgement, even though our legislation is a bit different. Because the reason for us not to being able, it sounds great if you can get that victory, David, in Sweden, but our legislation actually says you have to believe in something kind of unworldly things to get acknowledged for your organization. So we don't think we can use that in trying to get acknowledgement, and we need to find another way. But I think there is a lot of potential in the Nordic countries.
Is there any, given the, sorry, can I just chime in here. I'm so interested in the Danish, the way the Danish legislation is written different from the Swedish one.
I think the Danish word in the legislation is that you have to believe in something transcendental. I'm not sure how to translate that into English.
Transcendental.
Yeah, you're okay.
Yeah.
Which we don't. So that's why it doesn't. That's why the Spiritists got approved 2 years ago. So they actually got acknowledged, even though they don't believe in a god. So that's the difference, I think.
Well, it is possible to argue that certain secular values and point of view have a transcendental element. I mean, there are different ways of squaring a circle here.
That's also why we follow your path very closely to see if we can learn from something. Yeah. But I hope you succeed, and then we need to pick on what your experiences was and your arguments.
Is there no room for claiming that the Danish law itself contravenes the European Convention?
Yeah, but it's a very long path because we will end up in
and every long journey starts with
a very long journey. Yeah, yeah, I know. But it's also money, I would say, for that part in the end. But we will end up in the European Court of Human Rights, I think.
When you have the word, David, do you have any potentials that you would like to release?
I would have to try to be inventive on the spot, and yeah. Okay. A lot of the things that we want to be doing, we are doing. There isn't much that I off top of mind would say we should be doing this, but we can't at the moment. That our main constraint is resources.
Okay, Jori, what about from a Finnish point of view, potentials?
I was just writing to chat that what is our law says about religious organizations, and we have kind of two different love for all organizations and another for religious ones. But for the cooperation, and so I think I'm not still yet sure about what we can accomplish. Now I have just started as a chairman of the Freethinkers Union. I've been in this position about 2 months now. So sorry, not that much comment yet.
Okay. What about Inga? Potentials?
I dream of like a cross-Nordic confirmation facilitators masterclass on Åland or something. I don't know. And I think that is something that is very easy to get money for doing because it's a youth activity, or like the training of trainers in youth activities. I really want to set up a chaplaincy, so I think we have a lot to learn from those that have started on that journey. So I think there are so many avenues, and I would love to help someone with their celebrancy, because we have kind of found ways to make it quite high profile. So I think we have a lot of stuff to give and to gain from Nordic cooperation.
Okay. And Kirstine?
I think that Kirstine and Inga has said most of what is to be said on that. I don't have anything to add further there. But I would like to ask a question to Sweden. David, would it mean if the registration is successful, would it mean that you will gain the right to do legal weddings, or is that not included in that package?
It's not automatically included, but it gives us the right to apply in order to make official weddings, which is one of the first things that we're going to do if and when we hopefully soon get registered. And another advantage with the official status as a life stance organization is that we hope to be included in different interfaith communities that exist around the country. And these interfaith organizations and discussions are also what are appealed to during times of crisis, and we hope to be able to help in times of crisis as well.
Then over to the chat, and the first chat is from Jori. In Finland, we have 1,298 members. Yesterday, got the list from all chapters, and that's very good. And then Jon Pettersson, what can we learn from Norway? Is it just about being listed as a belief? Sweden should have 300,000 members. Jon, is there anything more to add about what we can learn from Norway? Oh, sorry, Kirstine, is there anything more we can learn from Norway?
The fact that one is registered I don't think is enough in itself. But I do really believe that our ceremonies, and that we have been providing them since 1951, and that so many Norwegian youth has been part of them, is mainly the key to our big membership base at the moment. We are an integral part of the cultural traditions of Norway. And I think that this is a very important factor, and we cannot just boil this down to being registered or not. So I think that the providing the ceremonies and the Swedish beginning of a focus on celebrancy, I think, is a wise choice if one wants to expand the organization.
It takes time. It takes a
lot of time.
Yeah, a lot of time, I think, as well. And I would also say, taking into account, I know, just to pitch in my opinion, it's also, in Denmark, we will never get subsidized by the government. We might reach acknowledgement and have legally binding weddings, but they will not, I don't think, at any point in time, they will set up similar solutions like in Norway and Iceland, where all beliefs organization will get money from the government. It will not happen in Denmark because they don't get any money already, the other life stance organizations. They have some advantages tax-wise, but only the members. And that's the only difference. And I don't see a political climate where anybody in Denmark, any political party will start saying that religious and life stance organizations should receive money from the state.
Ilan Hassan asks, do you have religious school in your countries, and what do you think about it?
Not really.
You don't? Is it legal?
There's a lot of
is it legal for a religious community to start a school? Is it legal in Iceland?
There are a few schools that have ties to our religions, but these are private schools and they are very few, and their ties are not that prominent.
In Denmark, there's a long tradition for private schools. We have a lot of them. And there are several based on religion. They are Christian, there's Jewish and Muslim schools and other schools. They are monitored, of course, by the government, and they have to follow the curriculum. But a lot of them, there is a lot of them that are religious, and that's part of the kind of the open-mindedness in Denmark. And of course, there is challenges regarding indoctrination, and there has been challenges on some schools, and we don't discuss it enough in Denmark, in the public. There's a lot of focus on Muslims, but not all religions and the way they run the different schools.
Okay. What about Finland?
We do have a long tradition about private schools, but we have only few of those. And mostly the private schools are religious ones, but there are, say, 10 or so So something like 96% of or so go to the state school or community school.
Do you have problems with schools who are more emphasizing religion than to emphasizing science?
Well, there are kind of problems with the evolution against creationism in some of those private schools, but not that much. They are not targeted in the public, and those kind of live in silent life. Some people want to put their children to the religious school, and then they put. The state gives funding to all schools, so it's kind of they don't get any special money, but kind of same that would go to the community school.
Okay. Anyone more who wants to comment?
Yes, I would like to. In Norway, there is about 115 religious schools in the school system in total. A lot of them is in districts where community schools or public schools has been discontinued, and the parents have started up new schools, and in some areas they are alternatives and so on and so forth. We are not very happy about them, but we acknowledge the right of parents to decide on their children's schooling to a certain degree. This religious private schools in Norway has to have the same curriculum in most of the subjects as in the state schools, but they are allowed to have a different subject in their religious subject, so they can have a different curriculum there. So that is the difference. But we also have 2 humanist schools, as far as I can count. And they actually had to fight quite hard to be able to have those schools set up, because they were not religious.
David?
Well, Sweden does have state-funded religious schools, but there have recent times have shown that there have been problems with these schools, that there's meant to be a fairly clear wall of separation between the religious part and the educational part, and that wall of separation isn't always observed. So the previous government put forward a proposal not to get rid of the religious schools, but to not allow any more of these schools to be established. So that's at least a step in the right direction.
Ila Galt asks, I'm wondering how much overlap in activities and focus areas there is with sister organizations such as skeptic organizations or peace organizations. Is this different in different Nordic countries? Other organizations doing the same as we do? There is a competition.
In Denmark, we have the Atheist Association. They are more focused on criticizing the state church and criticizing religion overall. They don't have ceremonies. So it's kind of and we have a lot of members who have dual memberships, who are both members of the Atheist Association and the Danish Humanist Society. It's not a competition. We kind of split responsibilities, I would say. It's easier for them to get into the media because they are more focused on criticizing, and conflicts are popular in media instead of our approach, which is we would like more discussions and aligning. So I don't see there's any competition. Of course, there's also organizations we would like to cooperate with on different subjects, and also, for example, groups that focus on human rights, because that's also what we do, but that's more to have a network. It's not competition.
What about Finland?
In Finland, the Freethinkers Union is the biggest one, and we are kind of the atheist organization, and we criticize religion and so on. Humanist movement here, Humanistiliitto, is much smaller. I think it has something like 200 members or so, something. And then we have a different organization, Protu, for youth camps, and it doesn't kind of give any opinion on religion, but it arranges camps primarily for those who are not religious. And then we also have Pro-Ceremoniat, which is organization just for weddings and funerals and so on. And Freethinkers Union is one of the kind of stakeholder of the Pro-Ceremoniat. So this is somewhat complex organization system.
What about Iceland?
No, there's a tiny atheist organization that is mostly a Facebook group of 90% men who are criticizing the church, and they are helpful in the way that they will go through every tiny bit of law and everything, and these are points that I will then go and put on Twitter and whine about. So that's just a kind of nice cohabilitation. They can say things more kind of strongly and angrily than we can, and but are not very active on any kind of level. They have no events or anything like that. There are now entering the scene some other lifestance organization. A Marxist lifestance organization has some members and such, but these are they are not. They have to provide weddings, for example, because that's one of the duties of being a lifestance organization. They're not really. So we don't really have any kind of competitors, but of course we work with human rights organizations, these organizations.
What about Norway, Kirstine?
We have a sister organization of some sorts in which is called Humanists, which is a lot smaller organization that is open to both religious and non-religious humanists. And then we have the local organization, the Atheist, which are a couple of hundreds and doesn't do much. But we have a lot of overlap with different human rights organizations, different peace organizations, and so on to answer the question more directly on that part. But I'm not sure to what extent we have any collaboration with those, and we have a bit of an overlap, for example, with the queer organizations, and we have some collaboration on, for example, the Barents Pride, which is in the north of Norway on the border with Russia, which provides a pride event for especially for Russian LGBT persons. So we have some collaborations and some overlap, but we don't have any. We don't research what organizations our members are part of, other organizations. So I won't be able to say anything detailed about that.
How would you like to describe Sweden, David?
Well, I would say that we are the main lifestance organization of that's atheistic and humanistic. We have some other organizations that we collaborate a little bit with. For example, Vetenskap och folkbildning. We have many members who are members in both organizations. So in that respect, we don't really have any competition. Interesting was that as we were going through these appeals processes and trying to find arguments to make our case stronger, we went through the bylaws of many registered lifestance organizations to see how they were different or similar to us. And it was really interesting reading the bylaws of the Satanists. They are almost identical to the humanist bylaws. So if we ever have any competition, it will be from the Satanists.
Okay, 12 minutes past 7, Jori Mäntysalo wrote in the chat, Finland have a law for registration of religious organizations. The purpose of a registered religious community is to organize and support individual, communal, and public activities related to recognition and practice of religion, which are based on a creed, scriptures considered sacred, or other specific established principles of actively considered sacred. Are there any comments on that?
So that was kind of for the comment on is that in Finland we don't have a kind of concept of life stance organization. We have concept of religious organization.
Maybe if I might add, because I wanted to say this in the membership discussion before, we very much fought for the life stance clause to be included. We made the words, we sent the letters, we met up with all the parliamentarians. And of course, I mean, because the environment is like it is in Iceland, we managed to really hands-on have the law changed, and that enabled us to become a life stance organization that was approved by the government. And that was a fundamental change in everything for us. Because as soon as we are a life stance organization, we can marry people legally, which changes a lot of just how people regard us. And we get money per member, which we then use to say, hey, you know, if you sign up, you'll get a huge discount on a ceremony or on a confirmation. And that is how our membership list just blows out. So I think that is fundamental in our growth. But all thanks to the amazing people that did this before my time, fighting for this very important clause to be changed in the law.
Any more comments? Okay. Kærn Straumland wrote in the chat, 12 minutes past 7, can we be each other's community in the Nordics? Is it possible to have some sort of exchange scheme for those of us that are regular members, not presidents? Perhaps we can learn from each other on a local level regarding ceremonies and other activities. Kirstine?
Yeah, I think we can. I think we at some point also talked about, since a lot of our humanists in Denmark, a lot are in Copenhagen, and we've had some cooperation with Humanisterne in Malmö to meet up, but that was before COVID. And I think that's definitely something to consider going forward, I would say.
What did you do during these meetings before COVID?
I think it was only that we were invited for each other's social events.
Okay.
Which was nice because it's not far. It doesn't take long to cross the bridge, even though there's a border. So it was just remembering each other, that they're also fellow humanists just across the border, basically.
Any more comments on cooperation on a local level?
Yeah, I think, I mean, the way we've done this now has been very much top-down. We were organizing this Congress together, and that was very much on a high, staff or presidency level. But I think going forward, we will hopefully be able to make up and finance projects that have a wider net of target groups that involve more regular humanists than just the same old faces that show up on every group meeting from every kind of international event. So I hope that this is the future for our collaboration. Yes.
Okay.
At the same time, this costs a lot of money, and that would need, for example, to be organized during with, for example, funding from the Nordic Council, for example, or other such exchange programs or something like that, because to be viable. Of course, Malmö and Copenhagen is quite that is close, but Reykjavik is a bit of a problem to go to Brønnøysund or Bodø or other places in Norway.
Yes. What would it cost to build a bridge between Bergen and Reykjavik? That could be a little bit expensive, I think.
I don't think all the oil funds of Norway would even suffice.
But I think
maybe a ferry, humanist ferry.
Yeah.
I think there needs to be a pinch of realism in this as well. I mean, most of our members, at least most of our members in Sweden, are passive members. We have 4,000 members, and maybe less than 100 are really active members. And we all participated in organizing the World Humanist Conference this summer. And even though we are so close to Denmark, it was really difficult to get members to go, even though we were paying their tickets. So I would love for more members to get more engaged, but at the current level of engagement, I see it as difficult.
Maybe I can pitch in regarding this, because even the Congress was held in Copenhagen, and there weren't many Danes participating, right. To be honest. And it is we did a member survey a few years back, because we heard a lot. There we have 2,200 members, and we actually have, I think, more than 150 active members who are doing confirmations, ceremonies, and other things, but it's mainly focused on the ceremonies. And we did a survey because we've heard several times that on our General Assembly, where there's only, 25 people showing up every year for our General Assembly, that they wanted more social events. But no one ever shows up to any discussions or social events. So we made a survey asking members what they prioritize. They don't prioritize the community. It's they're in it for the ceremonies and for us to separate church and state and get acknowledged. So it's the politics and the ceremonies, basically, for now at least.
Stig, you wrote. Are there any more comments?
No, but of course I'm realistic. This is not something I think is for inactive members, but there is a way bigger group than just us 15 that go to these events that could be internationally involved, and there is money out there for that. Okay, I'm done.
Stig, yeah, please, come on.
We have just the same in Finland. We have, say, 1,300 members, but about, let's say, maybe at most 100 of those are active in some locals up there. So most members just want to be a member and don't even put thumbs up on Facebook, not to mention that getting somewhere in real life. I think that's just the way it is.
Then we have a chat from Stig Joel, and that's in Swedish, so I will try to make a fair translation of that chat. From my point of view, the Swedish Church, or the Church of Sweden, has downgraded its dogmatic message and its faith-related statements very often. Instead, the Church is very active in social problems, for activities for homeless people, refugees, people without papers, and in culture, for example, music and things like that. And I believe, Stig Joel writes, that the church is winning, it's gaining a lot of sympathy by doing this. Unbelievers could relate to the church when it's have these social activities. What is your comment on that? That the church is not as religious as it was maybe in Sweden. Instead, it's relating on social activities and cultural activities. The word is free.
In Denmark, it's been like that for many years. The Danish church is the biggest event planner in Denmark. They have concerts, social events. It's kind of a big competitor to private event planners who plan concerts and stuff like that. And they always say that there's room for everybody, which is why I think there's still 70. That's why there's still 75% of the Danish population who are members, because you have anything from very, very strict religious priests in some parts of Denmark who will not shake hands with women priests and will not wed divorcees or homosexuals, to the local Pride Church just around the corner here in Copenhagen, where I live, where they have chairs in all the colors of the rainbow and have a drag queen doing events. And I think that's on purpose. The Danish state church has always said that they include everybody. And I also think that's true, but if they've been doing it for many years, it's not a new thing. And that's why they keep being relevant, and that's why people are not leaving the church, I would say.
Yeah. What about Finland? Jori?
Exactly the same. Just as told.
Okay.
We have hardcore priest and rainbow priest and everything between.
Okay. Iceland, Inga.
Yes, I feel like in the recent years they've been diluting their message quite a bit. Like I see more and more of a discussion on like wedding planning sites on Facebook that the people are like, yeah, I just went to the priest and said, I don't want a religious ceremony, but I want this church and I want you as a priest. And the priests seem to be more fine with it than they were before. And I find it very weird that they allow themselves to do this, because if like, what is a Christian wedding ceremony if it's not Christian? I don't think they have a lot of fundamentalists anymore. They have more of the rainbow waving ones, but we beat them by a million there. We have a lot of drag queen celebrants, I tell you. So, you know, I don't know. I think it's easy for them to claim that they do so many good things in society, all the homeless shelters and all that. But of course, fundamentally, that's because they have the infrastructure, because they have the money from the state to be the biggest public funding humanitarian organization, which is completely unfair to people that need this service and can't accept it or have to accept it and swallowing all their pride. So, yeah.
How would you like to describe Norway, Kirstine?
For many parts, I would say that it is the same situation that is described from Sweden. At the same time, I think that this means that the secular, the queer, the women's rights organizations, so on and so forth, are winning. That our message, our life stands, our opinions are listened to, and they experience that they need to change and they are changing with the changing societal norms and so on and so forth. So it can be a bit frustrating because they, as Inga said, they have the resources and they get special funding to do a lot of these people, to work with homeless people, to work with different groups that need work with, and they receive special funding outside of the funding for being a religious organization to do this, a lot of it at least. So I believe that the changing of the attitudes in the Norwegian state church is signs of the betterment of the society itself. So I'm quite happy about it.
So the Swedish church's watering down of its Christian message I see as a strategy for survival. The membership in the state church, or the Swedish church, has been falling steadily and is probably just around over 50% of the population are members of the Swedish church. So this watering down of the Christian message to me more seems like a problem for them rather than for anyone else, because if you're not going to have your message intact, then what's the point, really? Interesting anecdote is that the Swedish church did a survey of its members a few years ago, and one of the questions was, do you believe in Jesus Christ? Only 15% of the members answered yes to that question, which quite hilariously means that the Swedish church is the biggest atheist organization in Sweden.
And we have the same numbers. I don't think it was 15%. I think it was more like 25% in the Norwegian State Church.
Okay.
But so they have the similar numbers here. What I actually found most interesting is that only 60% of the members of the Norwegian State Church would like to use the Norwegian State Church to have their wedding in if they want to get married. And that, I think, it was quite an interesting number.
Yeah. Stein Fabian Strömme Eide, 15 minutes past 7, if you want to follow me. I'm wondering how the Nordic Humanist organizations work with the youth. We in Norway have a separate youth organization called Humanist Youth, where our opinions get voiced. Shall we start with David this time, and go backwards?
So before I became chairperson, there was a small youth organization that we had, but it never grew and disappeared. And we've had several discussions over the years about how we could maybe start something like this again, but this brings us back to one of the problems that I highlighted earlier, which is that the younger generations really, really don't seem to be as interested in getting engaged. So one of the things that we're trying in order to at least get some members that are younger to get engaged is that we're trying to get university, what do you call them?
Chaplains?
No,
Academic.
The type of organizations that university students can start at universities in order to get
Student
engaged.
organization is the name I would use.
All right, well, we'll use that one. So we're trying to start humanist student organizations in, for example, Linköping Universitet and Lund Universitet. And we're hoping to maybe get that going perhaps in other places as well. So with regard to youth, that's what we're doing at the moment.
Yeah. What about Inga?
Apart from of course the confirmation itself, we don't have a youth organization. We would like to start one up, but I will put it on the priority list below chaplaincy, so I don't see it maybe happening full force in the next 5 years.
Okay. Christian?
That was one of my youth that was stating that, so I think he described the situation.
Okay. Kirstine?
We don't have a youth organization. We had one for 2 years, which were a handful of teenagers. After their confirmation, they want to form a youth organization, and we've discussed it for many years, but we actually think it should come from the young ones, and we would like to try and tie the confirmants closer to, of course, the humanist organization after the confirmation, but they are so busy being young, living their life. They come back at some point when they are getting older, want to get married, and at a later stage. So I'm sure they'll come back, but it is very difficult to have a youth organization when we don't have any money to fund activities.
Kristina Birkehammar, we have group meetings called open cards, philosophical cafes, seminars, secular cafes, pub dinners, book circle groups, and humanist-oriented film shows as activities in the Stockholm region, as an example of our member activities. Any comments on that?
Amazing.
Yeah, amazing.
Excellent.
Well done.
Yeah.
Harry Margulius, most important is to become more relevant, and then he wants to he wants to give a few words verbally, but please write. So everyone is attending on the same circumstances. Please write, Harry, what you want to say. Jori, Finland has organizations for youth camps. Proto, do you want to say anything more about that, Jori?
And well, nothing special, but it has been working for about 30 years now, so it's kind of stabilized also.
Yep. Lars Petter Helgerstad, it takes time, but both the Icelandic and the Danish humanists have had incredible growth in their humanist confirmations the past 10 years. That's very, very good, of course. And then Magnus Timmerby in Malmö in Sweden. Fun fact, according to the study done by the Church of Sweden, 80% of their members, paying members, do not believe in Jesus. That's pretty much what David said. This means that the Church of Sweden is the leading organization when it comes to engaging atheists. So Magnus and David agrees on that. Mats Bjur, yes, I think in all the Nordics, the churches are just as much led by culturally religious people who wants to do good, but maybe don't talk about convictions. This is indeed a strive to be relevant. Some are more conservative, some are less. Are there any comments on that?
No, I think it pretty much aligned to what we talked about.
Yeah.
Yes, but at the same time, I do not think that we should judge if people is religious enough to be considered religious or not. If they are or if they are not, they need to consider this themselves. And people can be quite liberal religious people. They can be mostly focused on cultural aspects of their religion, but at the same time still believe in the religion. And most of the people working in or being volunteer in the different churches that we have, most of them we will probably find that they actually do believe what they talk about, what they preach, what they work within. So I don't think we should write this in and use the air quotes around religious about the people actually volunteering and using their times in their religious organizations.
Okay. Herlu writes, do you have any immigrants from Muslim countries who are members? Shall we start with David?
Yes, we do. I can't give you any numbers, but I have met several. So yes, is the answer.
What about Inga and Iceland?
I haven't looked into it. Yes, I would think so, based on my projections of, I don't know, kids at confirmation classes. No, but very little.
Okay. Christian, how is the situation in Norway?
This is one of the challenges to become relevant for people from outside of the Western world. And this is one of the things that I don't like to give the Christian apologetics right about, is the fact that secular humanism in a European context mostly appeals to people from a Christian background or from a Christian cultural background, and that to be relevant also for people of Muslim origin is something that we have not been good enough with. We have some members, of course, that have a Muslim background and come from Muslim majority countries or have themselves been Muslim and so on and so forth, but this is something that we would need to be better at if we want to be relevant also for this part of the population.
What about Denmark?
Well, we don't register where people come from, so I have no idea. And regarding immigrants, I'm not sure because we speak Danish and it's very hard for people to learn Danish. So maybe second or third generation of immigrants are members, but I have no idea because I don't ask about their background. So unless it's come up in a discussion, I don't know. But I agree with Christian, and that's also what we see in the international movement is humanist movement is, to be honest, very, very white and European Western world, and it's difficult to change that. But hopefully, it will change over time. What I've seen, if people come from Muslim backgrounds, they tend to be hardcore atheists in the beginning, and then they maybe soften up later on and become humanists.
Jori?
So I have one thing to add. There's a phenomenon, not a very big phenomenon, but nonetheless a phenomenon, where we have people who are asylum seekers in Sweden, and they want to be able to prove that they are no longer followers of Islam, and that in order to prove that, they become members as like an extra piece of evidence that, look, I've disavowed my belief in Islam, and you can't send me back, essentially. So that's one phenomenon that happens.
In Norway, that
what
is
about
actually...
Finland? Okay, Christian, come on.
In Norway, that part that David is talking about is actually mostly something for the Christian churches. It has been very difficult to get the Norwegian state to acknowledge atheism or secular humanism as a reason to not go back to an Islamic country, because you would be safe if you did not talk about it too loudly that you're an atheist, which was part of the argument, which some cases has been resolved luckily in the favor of atheists with, for example, Afghan origin, luckily, because the Norwegian government had to change some parts, but it has been really difficult, so that is mostly a Christian.
It's the same in Denmark. Atheism or being a non-believer is not grounds for asylum, as a general rule in Denmark.
And then our final chat, and that's from Herr Margulius, and I thank you, Herr, for
sorry, just for the latest one, the Finland and the immigrants.
Yeah. Sorry.
We have a few of those. Them, don't know how many, but at least one of them was the chairman of the Helsinki chapter of our organization, which is the biggest one. So, yeah, we do.
Yeah, we have announced that we should end this at 8 o'clock, and so there are just a few minutes left. But the last chat is from Herr Margulius. Church is taking away humanist territory and gets away with it. That's just a statement. Is there anyone want to comment on that?
I don't want to gatekeep humanism.
No, me neither. And
you
I don't
do
think
you, boo.
Yeah. And it's not new. If we call it humanitarian aid, there's the Red Cross, there's the State Church Relief Fund in Denmark. It's not new. And the more humanitarians there is, the better.
I'm really happy about the fact that the Norwegian church is becoming a more, a nicer place to grow up for the children that grows up there. I'm really happy about that. It doesn't make me believe in what they say anyway.
It is 8 o'clock, and this is where we are supposed to terminate this seminar. Thank you very much for attending and for sharing your thoughts with us.